I actually haven't seen you since CEO. Actually, I think. What's been up since then?
Since the CEO for Street Fighter 5,
Yeah.
I
So.
got fourth place at that tournament.
Oh yeah, yeah. That was a good top eight actually. It was, like Joe Umi Rogan was there and Punk and he was using Vega. You okay? I remember that now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the one that Mono won.
Yeah, that's actually kind of how I wanted to. Oh yeah, that's right. That's kind of how I wanted to start this off because I remember you actually kicked back onto Street Fighter Five, but there was a while there where you and a couple other players I remember fell off and just didn't care competitively at all anymore. It seemed like you, Strider, Filipino champ, all those guys. Was it like
Yeah,
around the same time?
yeah, I think all of us started falling off around the same time because I think safe to say that we all had other priorities that we needed to attend, and as a man, you got to take care of your priorities over video games at a certain point in your life when you
Yeah.
see that the video games aren't paying off the way that you expected it to.
Yeah. Well, does that change kind of like the way you're going into this one? Because I could tell you're taking it seriously because you're winning and you're probably one of the top players right now. So are you trying to take it to that next level again and try to get to Capcom Cup and all that? Or are you trying to just be good or like what's the goal there?
I think as a competitor, you have to set realistic expectations for yourself. And I think for myself, I would love to qualify for Capcom Cup. I would love to compete in Capcom Cup because that's the main objective of every person that has done this and that has qualified for Capcom Cup once before. They want to get up to that stage again.
Mm.
Um, I think realistically, considering that I have a full-time job now and um, the responsibilities that I have to my family, it's a bit difficult with seeing myself practice as much as I used to in order to lead me to Capcom Cup.
Mm-hmm.
So you must be able to put in a lot of hours in order for you to qualify for Capcom Cup. Anybody that's qualified knows this. You can't just play 1 hour or 2 hours a day and expect yourself to be one of the best players, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You have to you have to devote your life to this in order for you to qualify for Capcom Cup. If you're not devoting a majority of your life, a majority of the percentage of what you put your energy into, then it's foolish to expect yourself to qualify for Capcom Cup.
Yeah.
Um, I
Especially
think
because you're competing with kids and young dudes who don't have a job and they're putting in 9, 10 hours a day, for like
correct.
50 hours a week.
Right,
How are
right.
you supposed to keep up with that?
It's very hard, and there are people that will talk online and say, "Oh, well, this person has a 9 to 5, or this person can do it. They can put the time into." But you have to realize, like, let's say, for example, Brian F is a great example. I know I'm only using Brian F as an example because I know he has a 9 to 5. That man works a lot, and when he comes home, though, he puts in a lot of hours into his stream. Like his stream is very successful, and that didn't just happen because he played 1 hour a day. He
Yeah.
put in the time and effort in order to grow his stream and his community and his content, and you could see that he puts a lot of his focus into Street Fighter.
Oh yeah.
So, and I'm not trying to say that he doesn't have other priorities in life, but you can see the amount of hours that he puts into Street Fighter because of how much he cares about it, you know?
Yeah.
And like he's one of the anomalies that could probably make the 9 to 5 and qualify for Capcom Cup work because his priority, the Street Fighter, is a big priority for him. Um, for myself and probably a lot of other players, um, oh, I don't know if Brian F is a full-time streamer now. Actually, someone in the chat just mentioned that, but it, realistically speaking, logistically speaking, when you work a 9 to 5, you do not have as many hours. That is
Yeah.
just plain and simple. You do not have as many hours as someone else who doesn't, who can afford to play as much as, um, you know, 6 to 8 to 10 hours a day in order to get better. And that's definitely a disadvantage.
Well, do you
Um,
remember when you were younger and you were first getting into this stuff and you were getting like you were like excited about it? You were excited about waking up early and putting
hmm
those extra hours. And I
I
feel
would
like
put in.
there's
You
like
go ahead. Sorry.
that new influx of people and people who are already kind of establishing themselves. Like Mayna's a perfect example who has only grown since then, and he still seems excited to get up and play. And as well as all these other guys too, like Ending Walker. These guys are excited to get up and put in those hours. Where I don't know, I'm not exactly sure how old you are, but I'm at that point where I want to be the best I can be, but you're also kind of look at it in some weird structural way. Well, I'll have time between this time and this time to do this, and
hmm
yeah. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think Mena is an exception. People like Mena, NuckleDu, Punk, these guys are exceptions because they've won Capcom Cup. Punk hasn't won Capcom Cup, but he had a tremendous run in CPT that solidified him with amazing sponsors and provided him with the opportunity to make a living off of this. And I could give you a percentage. There's probably around 0.001% of Street Fighter players that could make a living
Oh yeah.
off of Street Fighter, and Punk just happens to be one of those people
Mm-hmm.
because of the tremendous success that he's had. So he doesn't need to work a 9 to 5. He's established himself as one of the best players in the world, has content consistently, and he's now making money off of Street Fighter and can survive off of Street Fighter. NuckleDu, for example, he's won a Capcom Cup, and if you've won a Capcom Cup, you have solidified yourself in order to make an income off of this thing. NuckleDu gets a lot of viewers on his stream. He's making content now, so and he has a family. He devotes his life to his family, but it's like he can afford to play as much as he does or stream as much as he does because he has won a Capcom Cup and he's one of the anomalies. Mena has won 2 Capcom Cups.
Yeah.
That man is essentially set for life in terms of like potential opportunity, sponsorships, viewership, content. Why
Mm-hmm.
would you not want to watch content from somebody that has won 2 Capcom Cups? If Mena started making YouTube videos, it would blow up like crazy. I would even watch him because that man has won 2 Capcom Cups.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm not trying to say like I respect the grind and I respect the people that are doing what I have tried to do and have succeeded at what I've tried to succeed in, such as winning a Capcom Cup. That's the goal of every single Street Fighter player. So, but that's only about 0.001% of the FGC, you know? Everybody else can't make a living off of this,
No,
which
and
it, so
there are like deviations in the way that Brian F has actually he's actually never I don't want to eat my words, but I don't know if he's ever won anything majorly significant.
hmm
But he's
hmm
taken this other route, which I think a lot of people are taking. It's probably the future as far as making income, because even when I was full time streaming and full time creating content, I was making money off this, and I'm middle of the pack type of player. So
yeah.
that seems like the alternative. If you're, I almost feel like content kind of hurts people sometimes. I've said this hypothesis about Punk where it seemed like when he took content seriously, he started not winning everything all the time.
Right, but
Uh,
he started making a living though.
yeah. So
So he took the route that provides him with income
yeah.
and provided him with stability. And there's a sacrifice that every player has to make. I mean, sacrifices have to come with competitive gaming. I think that you're right when you say that this is the route that provides people with stability rather than competing in every single tournament and trying to win every single tournament.
Yeah.
It's mentally exhausting to try to compete in every single tournament. It's mentally exhausting to put that much amount of pressure on yourself to win and qualify for Capcom Cup. I mean, I did it for 10, 12 years,
Traveling.
um, traveling. Although this year there's not much travel, it's still mentally taxing to compete day after day and to train as hard as you have to train in order to get that $1 million.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
Um,
Most people get out
the,
of the pools and they're like exhausted. Just like
oh, for sure.
yeah.
Because pools are like, look at pools nowadays. Pools are a Capcom Cup. Think about it. Like there are pool matches where there's 3, 4 absolute monsters
Yeah.
inside of the pool, and those monsters could easily be in a top 8 in Capcom Cup, in a top 16 in the Capcom Cup. Like Brian F was given this example of he was in a pool. I forgot which tournament, but he had Daigo, Fudo, himself, and uh, another Japanese god in there, and he ended up making it out somehow. And he was just like, I just got lucky because this person beat that person and that person beat Fudo, and I
Mm,
was able to avoid the landmine right there. But like, that's just an insane probability. How many times are you going to be in a pool with Justin Wong, Knuckle uh, Strider, and then you expect yourself to make it out, you know?
yeah,
Um,
it's a numbers game for sure. And I guess
it's
the
a numbers game, and it's based on luck of the bracket. I don't think people understand how lucky you have to be bracket wise in order to find success. I'll be the first one to admit tournaments that I've won, I've had just a graceful bracket
right.
in my path that led me to top 32, that led me to top 16, that led me to top 8, and that led me to win, you know?
Yeah, it's
If I
true.
just played somebody that provided a horrible matchup or something like that, I probably would not have been able to win that tournament. But you're right. I mean, Brian found that niche, that community, and he's doing an amazing job with content creating, like just an absolute amazing job with it. Because I remember, other than Smug was like the first one really to do the content stuff in the FGC in America, and then Brian matched that as well afterwards. So I don't think the focus should be to win Capcom Cup anymore. I think if you want to be a competitive player and you want to make a living off of Street Fighter, then you must go into content creation because it provides stability. The other route of competing and trying to qualify for Capcom Cup, it is, oh dude, that journey is very, very rough and very difficult, very mentally taxing, and it's just almost seems like it's not worth it because like who's actually going to win the million, you
Yeah,
know? Think about how many people are competing. Think about how many people are competing globally, and there's only one person who's going to get the million. So
yeah,
you have to weigh out like what's going on in my life. Well, in my life, I have my job, I got my this, I got that, I got responsibility, I got this and that. You know, it's like you to win $1 million in this game, you really got to put in, I would say, 90% of your day should be devoted to Street Fighter. If you're trying to win that milli, you got to put like 90% of your day into it. And I feel like that's a fair number, logistically speaking.
it's true. Yeah, and people only think about the winner too. Like for example, Mana winning Capcom Cup, but Idom did too, but he didn't win, and Zen did apparently put a ton of time too, and he doesn't win. So even when you put in that 90%, it doesn't even
Oh yeah.
guarantee that you get anything. And any other tournament, like for example, any tournament like ECT, you go there and you
Hmm.
win, you're paying for what it took you to get there anyway. So it's you're not really leaving with anything substantial. So
Right.
you just gotta do it because you like it. But on top of what you said about the content creation, I feel like almost you should be a content creator first, and you get good at the game to gain exposure to your stream. So like if I were to go to ECT and get second, my viewers would be pretty good the next day, at least for a little
Right.
while, and then you have an opportunity
Right.
to reel them in once you got them. But that's how I kind of am viewing it. Which kind of was I was asking you about, or I wanted to ask you about, then what your goal actually is. Like, do you have that in mind? Like, I'm putting all my resources into that, or are you thinking I'm gonna put in all the time I got into it, but these things come first? Because I think you're trying to get into content creation more seriously. It seems like.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, after devoting so much of my life to Street Fighter, I'm at a point where, I don't need money like that anymore from Street Fighter
Mm,
because I have a job and I'm stable and I'm comfortable, However, it would be nice to profit a little bit of money off of putting so much of your life into something,
yeah.
you know? When you've given so much, you want to reap some of those rewards. So I think that I will always want to qualify for a Capcom Cup. That's just the blood boiling inside of me as a competitor. However, I I've seen what content creation has done to other players, and I want to be able to have the same type of outcome with from it. I want to be able to make a little bit of money off of content creation and and build an audience, build a community that benefits from watching my stuff. If you've paid attention to the things that I release, 99% of it is helpful analysis, tips, um, providing my experience both in game and out of game in order to help those that are younger to pursue the same dream that I pursued, and hopefully they get a taste of what it's like to hold a trophy, you know?
Yeah, I actually mentioned before that you have really concise information. It's almost too concise. It's almost too to the point and helpful and easy to digest. I'll watch a video and just give a quick tip, and it's a nice reminder of like whatever something I forgot or just something I didn't think about in a certain way. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely encourage you to keep doing that. Plus, coaching and stuff like
Sorry,
that.
somebody rated the channel. MD Soul, thank you so much for the raid, guys. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no coaching. At the peak of my content creation, it was basically YouTube and Patreon like crazy to get people to, because coaching and being the best in the game don't necessarily have to go hand in hand. I feel like I know just enough to be able to get people on their feet, and I think you'd be probably do good. I don't know how you ever plan on taking coaching seriously like that, but
Mhm.
it's on the table.
Yeah, I mean, I've done coaching for years now. I've had plenty of coaching sessions. People have signed up to take lessons from me. I typically, whenever I stream, I tell my stream all the time, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask, and I will do my best to answer every single question. But if they want a more private, like one-on-one session, then yeah, I definitely do coaching sessions. It's just, you know, my time is very valuable, very, very valuable. So if I do a coaching session, it's like I put my all into it, and it's not as often as probably other people.
Right.
But that's because I have so much responsibility in my day. Like I have a very, very busy day every single day. So um, I
It comes
definitely
to the
do
premium.
coaching.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I mean, you're not getting, with all due respect, it's like I have had the success that most people want. I do consider myself in that top 1% of competitors in Street Fighter. I've
I'd
always
say so
considered
too.
myself that ever since I started winning. Um,
You do seem like that, and I don't want to say this because I don't want you to, like feel like you might be missing out on something. But I always felt like you're one of those players. You and Strider too, actually. You, Strider, Snake Eyes are the type of people who seem like if you did devote your time, you would actually, really make something of it. But as you mentioned, there's only a couple spots, so even if you are the elite of the elite, there's still like a, 10% chance. So.
right, no, absolutely. I don't take that in any way, but I know I know the success that I've had. I know the journey that I've had, and I think that to 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 claim yourself as one of the best, to claim yourself to be in that 1%, you have to be able to back it up with success, with data, with actual deductive reasoning,
Yeah,
and I feel like I can provide that,
it's true.
and that's what makes me comfortable in stating that I'm in that 1%. So that's why I say what I say, but I mean that in the humblest way possible. I don't ever try to toot my own horn, but
Well,
you
well,
have to be confident in yourself, and you have to know who you are at the end of the day. A lion knows that he's a lion.
it seems like I'm not really watching every tournament and keeping up with like the online stuff, but it seems like you're winning most of the tournaments that you're entering.
Hmm.
Is that have you? Is that the case?
Yeah, I mean, I have been winning most of the tournaments that I've been entering. I only lost against Kaba in the Beta Bash tournament, the
Oh,
Beta 3
yeah,
tournament, but that's not to say that, like, there's going to be tournaments that I lose in the future, you
yeah.
know? And that's okay. That's part of the journey. You have to be able to take losses in the journey in order to win again. It just so happens
Heavy
that I'm winning
losses
at the
too.
moment. Yeah, you have to take extremely tough losses in order to win tournaments. So my fear isn't to lose in tournament. My fear is losing in tournament and being so mentally fucked that I don't bounce back mentally. That's where I don't want to be. I don't want to be that guy who's
Mm.
just like afraid of his own mind and can't
No.
win and overcome struggles. It's like, but that's never been me. I've had a drive like a motherfucker, dude. Like I fucking have a drive. I have a fire that always burns inside of me after I lose. I don't accept defeat because defeat makes me feel mentally weak.
Hmm.
So, and I don't ever want to feel mentally weak. And so when I do choke in tournament, or when that does happen to me, the very next minute watching sports psychology, watching Kobe talk about losses and wins and
Mm.
mindset and philosophy videos. I've spent thousands of hours watching the greats talk about competition. So I know how to overcome those fearful doubts and fears that enter your mind. And I uh, I I just always want to be able to bounce back from losing, even if it means that I'm not going to win the next tournament or the tournament after that or the tournament after that. But as long as I win, I get that first place again. It's like, I lost those tournaments because it led me to win this tournament.
Right.
So everything happens for a reason, and I'm a firm believer in that.
Yeah, and you were talking about it was actually Kobe too that put that thought in my head that, and people just happen to think this way if you are going to be successful, is that you kind of envision everything that you're doing in life kind of reflects whatever it is that you actually want to do. So he saw basketball when he would think about basketball when he's doing his laundry, or when he's working out or going to the library. Like
Hmm.
it was somehow relating it to that. And speaking of heavy losses, last year or the year before that, whatever it was, I had two of the toughest tournament runs I ever had traveling, and then immediately losing. Uh, it's one of you've probably endured that just because of how active you
Oh
used to
yeah,
be. And it's just like you go
yeah.
there and you lose to the guy that you didn't prep for, and then you get
Hmm.
double eliminated, and then so that was rough. And going to what you're talking about, how I really kind of felt for a second there, like fuck this. I was sitting in the hotel room, like fuck this, man. Like
Oh yeah.
I just did all this practice, and I lose to some energy drink slurping psycho, and it kind of set me back a bit. But then as you said, you kind of have to just think of how what that was supposed to tell you. You know.
Oh yeah. You have to think of it that way. It's all about your mental, That hotel room, there's only a handful of people that can understand what that hotel room is
It,
after you lose. You
it's a
go back
lonely
to your
place,
room,
dude.
it's a fucking, like I always say it on my stream, there's a dark corner of that hotel room that infiltrates your mind,
Mm.
and there's a battle, there's a war that happens within your mind in that dark corner of the hotel room. And we've all gone through it. If you've been a competitive player, if you've every Capcom Club qualifier has gone through that hotel room. Every person who has devoted hours and hours and hours and traveled to tournaments or competed in a tournament online and then loses, they know what that hotel room darkness is. But like I said, it's all about how you get back up. You hit the ground running and you hit the ground hard sometimes. And it takes a little bit more energy to get back up, but the goal is to get back up because that's the beauty of life. That's the beauty of overcoming the challenge. It's like it's not about how difficult the challenge is. It's like it's knowing that you fucking failed and then you just I just gotta fuck, I gotta do it. I gotta get back up. I have to.
True.
Because it's easier to lie on the ground. It's so much easier to quit when you lose like that. It's so much easier, but you know what it's like to just push yourself back up and keep going on that journey.
Yeah, and like you can the actions going on in the venue, like because I don't know about you, but the last time I lost, I actually just left the venue right away. You go to the hotel room, everyone's in there having a blast. The bracket's still going on, and you're just sitting there like, man, I can't believe my run's already over. I took all this travel time to get here. I left at 4 in the morning,
Yep.
just for that to happen. And you have to ask yourself like, I did all the things I was supposed to fucking do. How
Hmm.
do I do all the things I'm supposed to do and still come up so short? And that's the battle you were probably talking about, like when you're in the corner, like this doesn't make sense. I wasn't
Yeah.
supposed to lose like that. And then, but that exact way of thinking is why that happened.
Uh,
You know,
Absolutely.
I'm not allowed to lose. I'm not supposed to lose to this scrub or however you feel the other person was or whatever it is. That's you got an ego issue. But speaking of which, are
Oh,
you? So are
you
you
said it right there. It was ego. That's ego.
big
But go
time?
ahead.
Are you going to any tournaments? I just registered for ECT. Am I see you there?
Yeah, I'll be going to CEO. I just bought my flight to CEO.
Oh,
Hopefully I can make it to Evo. I should be able to make it to Evo. There's only just one roadblock, and that is my brother's getting married on the 29th of July
you got to make a
in
call.
Armenia. So I'm flying to Armenia on the 23rd, and I'm gonna have to take a flight back very early. So like maybe a day after my brother's wedding.
Oh, I see. When
Um,
is it?
I
Like,
fly back on the 29th, and Evo's on the 2nd. So it's like
oh,
I'd be flying for over a day,
yeah. Wow.
and then the jet lag of coming back to America and then having one day to sleep and then compete. Meanwhile, I was in Armenia the whole week. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how that's going to be for Evo.
Probably pretty
Um,
rough. What is it? 8 hour difference or something like that at the least?
12-hour difference.
12 hour difference.
12-hour, and it takes about like a whole day to travel from there back to America and America to there. So it's going to be a mission. I'm still trying to figure that out inside of my mind, but hopefully I can figure that out in time, and hopefully I do good at Evo.
I hope so too, man. I actually enjoy watching you compete. I mentioned before when you joined up on Stream Team Battle, you were one of my favorite players to watch. It sounds kind of cliche, but really, that was the case. You in that whole wave, and I actually didn't think about that. I thought that COVID and PS4 were kind of like your Street Fighter 5 and online were kind of your
Mhm.
reasons for quitting because I think that turned. I know that turned Strider off. Where he's like, dude, I just can't play this game online,
Yeah,
and it kills people's
absolutely.
motivation.
Yeah, no, it absolutely destroyed my motivation.
Yeah,
I did not want to play online. I did not want to compete on in those conditions. And on top of that, bro, there's not many people that know my story. They don't know what I've gone through. They really don't know what I've gone through. And in 2019, I had tried the whole content route, and it just wasn't. It was much more difficult. And you start realizing I don't have money in my bank account.
yeah,
I had just graduated from college and I had just gotten ninth place at Capcom Cup. I was doing finals while I was preparing for Capcom Cup. You can imagine how difficult that is. And to get ninth place at Capcom Cup, I was very proud of myself. So in my mind, I'm thinking, that's it. Like I qualified, I got ninth. I'm gonna get a really good sponsor now. And that didn't happen. There was no sponsorship offers. After you would think after getting ninth place, there would be a sponsor that would be like, "Hey, this guy's pretty good,"
yeah.
but there was no sponsorship offer, and the money that I was expecting to get did not come into my wallet. And I had just graduated college, and it was difficult for me to find a job at the moment. And so your money starts dwindling, and there wasn't enough money in the first place for me to support myself with. And when you're just playing video games every single day with no money in your wallet, you got to look at yourself in the mirror and ask important questions and do some self-reflecting. And there came a point where I just wasn't happy doing what I was doing and I needed to get a job. And that's when I made one of the best decisions of my life and I put my degree to use and I became a substitute teacher and that started paying me money and made me feel more comfortable during COVID. And that's what led me to pull the trigger and become a teacher instead of just being a substitute teacher. I wanted to be a teacher and I wanted to impact students' lives. And I feel very proud of the decision that I made. And although it sacrificed Street Fighter, it provided me with more stability and it was better for my mental health and overall better for my family as well because now I can support my parents. As a child, you want to be able to support your parents because they've supported you your whole life. So now if I can take a little bit of stress off of my parents' shoulders, then I'm doing a good job as a son.
I'd
You
say
know,
so. Yeah, you said
that's
something
that's
about
more
students.
important
I
to
was
me
like,
than the
what?
$1 million.
Yeah, I mean, and you had to make that same decision that everyone makes when they eventually decide to like reel back a little bit. You had that pride in you that says like, man, the moment I let up, these other people are gonna like get that spot, and there's a part of you that just doesn't want to give up the fighting game drive. But once you step back a little bit, it seems like once you're already stepped back a little bit, it's a little easier to step back and be like, this is a good decision, man, because
I have to.
fighting games aren't going to be there forever. You're not going to be good at them forever.
Hmm.
But speaking of which, I don't even know if we're going to be able to get to the things I wanted to ask. I don't know how
No,
much
go
time we
ahead.
got left.
Go ahead. No, I got time. I got time.
Okay, so you said you kind of have like a loose goal for Street Fighter 6, but generically, what do you think about it? Is it as good as everyone in that little few day stage thought it was because everyone was so excited about it? Just a quick rundown of what you actually think
Yeah.
about it.
Well, I wouldn't say that I have a loose goal, because I am winning tournaments and I'm very driven and I'm very focused. I just don't think my goal is as hardened as it was when I was 16 years old. I'll
Mm.
just put it that way.
Okay,
You know,
that's
like I'm
fair.
still a competitor. I still have that drive to win, but it's just not as focused as it was before because I got to report to work at 7 a.m. in the morning, you know?
Sure. Yeah, yeah.
Um, but in regard to your question, I do think Street Fighter 6 is an amazing game. I think that the hype around it is real. Um, I noticed it immediately from Beta 1, and everybody noticed it in Beta 1. All the really strong Street Fighter players noticed it from Beta 1 that this game feels way different than Street Fighter 5, and it feels different in the right direction.
Mm.
Now, me personally, I think Street Fighter 4 is the greatest Street Fighter game to ever be released. It was just magical. That game was magical, what it did to the scene. There's a reason why it revived the fighting game community. But and nobody, I think no Street Fighter will ever touch Street Fighter 4. But Street Fighter 6 has extreme potential to be one of the best Street Fighter games to come out. And I think the game is really fun. I think um, it promotes the right stuff, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Whereas like Street Fighter 5, I just hated how you could just do an EX move in neutral and just bypass neutral. Now there is the drive rush system and the drive impact system, but I think once people start understanding how to counter it, they'll see the beauty of the neutral and the neutral is very aggressive in this game. I love
Yeah.
how aggressive the neutral is. It's very mentally taxing. You'll hear that word a lot, that the neutral is mentally taxing from top players because it is. There's too many things that you got to look out for.
Yeah.
But the game is fun. The game is really, really fun right now, and it's starting off at a way better start than Street Fighter 5 did. So
Yeah.
I'm all for Street Fighter 6, and I'm very happy that Capcom took a lot of time to listen to what the players were saying, and Capcom literally wrote a love letter to their community with this game. I'm very happy with it, and it's only going to get better. That's the best part about it. It's only going to get better.
I actually think your enthusiasm for it might bring you back a little bit to fully fortify that goal. I hope it does actually when you start to see more success and you travel and win a bigger offline event or something like that, and it kind of pushes you to be like, you know what, it's right there, baby. But
Mm,
you're right, and I think this is one thing I've noticed when I run into people who I played in 5. I feel like at some point those accidental losses that you take to people that you maybe think that weren't as good as you won't happen as much in this game later on.
correct,
Do you feel
correct,
that way too?
correct. Absolutely. I feel that way right now.
Yeah.
I feel very confident against people that I don't regard as the top 1%. You
Yeah.
know, the only fear or the only like fuck, I really got to play on point enters my mind when I'm playing against the top 1%er. And that, with all due respect, I mean that's just how players that are in the 1% think.
Well,
You
yeah,
know,
and
I
honestly,
don't.
it's how you probably should be able to think. I mean, there should be some risk to anyone being able to beat you, but
Correct,
I think
correct.
Street
You have
Fighter
to be on
Five.
point.
I feel like Street Fighter Five, the risks weren't risky enough. I don't know if I can, but like you were talking about drive rush and drive impact, those could be looked at as the scrubby aspects if there are any. But I feel like there are actual risks, and
Hmm.
even mid-level players are already having counters for it. So I
Hmm.
mean, I feel like the better player is normally going to win.
Hmm. Hmm.
I don't know if you've heard me mention this before, but I feel like in Street Fighter Five, there's always upsets in fighting games. That's just the way it is. But I feel like every bracket of every Street Fighter Five tournament had a crazy upset, and I feel like it happened way too much.
Yeah,
Like, oh, well,
which
upsets happen, yeah, but it's like every tournament, every bracket, there's like 2 or 3 where you're like, what? He beat him or whatever.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, the I think that Street Fighter 6 recreated the gap between the extremely strong players and the average to advanced players. Like in Street Fighter 4, I'll visually show it to the chat here. Like in Street Fighter 4, the Daigos and the top 1% were right here, and the average to advanced players were like right here. There was like an extreme gap between them. In Street Fighter 5, I feel like that gap was like right here. But in Street
Yeah,
Fighter 6, I feel like now it's like over here, somewhere around here. So the players that are up here have a little bit more confidence now playing against the players that are around here because they can. I know that in my mind, I think I'm more superior than you mentally, so I'm gonna eventually find a way to beat you and download you.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
especially if it's a 3 out of 5. If it's a 3 out of 5, I'm feeling extremely confident. Whereas in Street Fighter 5, I'm not feeling that confident
Yeah,
when I
right.
compete.
It's true.
I'm not trying to shit on Street Fighter 5 either, you know? I'm
It's
not trying to shit on it at all. I'm just saying that I feel like in Street Fighter 6, currently in this state, there's that gap reintroduced again, and it's going to separate players.
mm. Yeah. Well, do you remember when BJUnchained beat Bonchan?
Yes.
That do you remember how epic that was because of how unlikely that sort of thing actually happened back in the
Y-
day?
Yes, yes. So it
That's
meant
what I'm talking
something.
about. Yeah. Would that happen? I was like, what? That could have happened in Street Fighter Five, and honestly, people would have been like, oh, damn.
Yeah,
So that's
for sure.
not a bad game, but
No, no,
it
no, but
had
there's a
that.
reason why there's that hype when BJ beat Bonchan because
Yeah,
you just to beat somebody in that caliber, you had to really be that guy. You
yeah.
had to be him,
And I
and
didn't
he
even
was
know who
him.
he was,
Oh no,
actually.
BJ is one of the best fucking players in America, dude. BJ's Cody was ridiculous. I had never lost to a single Cody, only to BJ
Oh.
Unchained. Because he was my practice for Cody, so I felt confident against any other Cody player. He was the best Cody in America.
Yeah, I showed up a little late, so by the time I was starting to get into it, he was just that guy who beat Bonchan, and I was like, who is this? Because I knew
Hmm.
you know about Bonchan and all those Japanese players, but
Right.
yeah, I mean, so that's a good thing. I'm happy about that for sure.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, if you have, I'll ask you a technical question if you have some.
Sure. Yeah.
So, conversions, punishes, all that basic stuff, but a little bit more six specific. Like, where are you at as far as what you're trying to learn? Are you just at the point where you're just trying to get better at matchups, or is there some sort of mechanical thing that you're trying to get used to right now? I don't know how many hours you have in the actual game. Like,
Yeah.
I have about 17, and I'm trying to get more hours. It's hard. But
Hmm.
with how many hours you're at in the game, like what's your primary focus for training?
I think the most important thing that players need to understand is obviously the mechanics of the game, right? How, when to use drive impact, drive rush, um, drive meter usage. That is by far the most important thing in the game is drive meter usage and being aware of your drive meter. So my mind is constantly thinking about the mechanics of the game and how to theory fight with it. You know, we theory fight all the time. So one day you'll have a theory about using one of the mechanics this way. It doesn't quite work out, so you have to go back to the lab and try to think about what about another way to use it. You watch other players play the game and see if something sparks inside of your mind. I think the mechanics is very important for me to think about and for everybody to think about. And then uh, matchups are also very important as well. Matchups are extremely important at this phase. Like I need more experience with matchups. Um, I think I have a decent understanding of the game, not an amazing understanding, but a decent understanding of the game. Uh, and I like the way that I'm playing. I like the way that I'm using the mechanics of the game. Uh, but in terms of matchups, yeah, I mean, there's still a ton of characters that I literally have not played against. Like I have zero experience against Blanca, Cammy, Lily. I don't have any experience against who else?
You run into a lot
I,
of
like
Manongs.
Manon, like I've played her a couple of times, but I still don't know the flow of it. You know, like you don't really know matchups like that until you play somebody in a first to death. You know,
And
you have,
they're good.
yeah. So like the other day, 2 days ago, I played against K7. K7's Marissa, and he was really good with that character. And we played 40 games. 40
Hmm.
games takes a little over 2 hours to play, and considering how intense those matches were.
Oh
But
yeah,
that's a set where you feel like you entered the hyperbolic time chamber and you came out a stronger player.
yeah. I play
So
about
if you're,
8 games, and I'm kind of exhausted in this game.
yeah, 40 games is a lot. It's mentally, again, God, I hate using that word mentally taxing. You got to help
But
me
it
find a
is.
better
I
word
know. I
for it,
mean,
but it
it's
is.
a lot
But
of stuff to juggle, and the moment you stop thinking about it, the person does it, and it's just like or very similar looking moves. I just noticed that with Kimberly actually, her drive rush. or her drive impact, and she's got this like forward moving cartwheel EX move that I kept getting confused for. I would be waiting for it. There's just very similar looking things. I think this game's probably a little bit more sound oriented too. If you can get really good at identifying sounds, I think people were talking
Sounds
about
are important.
JP.
JP has the sound of the command grab. You have to have sounds in the game for JP. I like mentally draining and and fatigue. I think mentally draining fits a little bit better. I like that. But yeah, you have to play, like you said, hours. I said it before, hours and hours and hours have to be devoted in order for you to feel comfortable. And I was just grateful that K7 had enough time to play that matchup with me. K7 is one of the best Guilty Gear players in the country.
Yeah, I never heard of
So
that name.
K7 won CEO at that. I think it was the CEO that I got fourth in, but he had one CEO for Guilty Gear Strive.
Oh.
K7 is just an amazing player. So I'm glad that he is playing Street Fighter 6 at the moment and just a good training partner to have if you need like Marissa matchup experience. I know Cool Kid is going to play Marissa as well.
Yeah, I'm
But
excited
he's
about his
pretty
return,
fresh.
man.
Yeah, he's pretty fresh at the moment. But once he returns, that man is going to be a monster in the game. So definitely going to hit up Cool Kid for more Marissa experience. But you got to hit up these strong players to get the best experience. You know, I hit up Wolfgang to get Blanca experience. Like who else is going to be a Blanca enthusiast like Wolfgang? That guy lives and breathes Blanca. So I know that I'm going to get really good Blanca matchup experience when I play against him. So right now the goal for me is hit up really strong players, run these death sets, first to 40, first to 50, whatever it may be, you know, play as many matches as possible, and then, um, and then you hit the lab against these characters and try to come up with a game plan and strategy against them.
Oh, BJ is playing Street Fighter 6?
Nah, not really, man. He just be playing Rust nowadays. He works a lot.
Oh,
He's in
someone in the
IT.
chat said that. Oh,
He works a lot. I haven't seen him play six like that. I'm barely getting Mark Teddy to play again. He doesn't really have as much time either, but like he's somewhat interested in the game because he thinks it's better than five, so he'll play Kimberly. Um, I'm trying to get Brent to play the game as well. I mean, Brent literally did not touch any of the betas. And in day two or day three of the game being released now, he's playing DJ and he's already making huge progress. And it's just great to see my best friend play the game again because that's how we started. Me and Brent were training partners from 14, 15 years old. You know, that's my best friend. We traveled the world together, compete together, lab together. And he took a hiatus from Street Fighter 5 because he just did not like the game and he picked up golfing. So I'm not saying he's going to be a competitive like monster the way that he used to be in Street Fighter 4, but it's just nice to see Street Fighter 4 players starting to play this game
that
again.
is nice. It really is.
Yeah.
K Brad, I want him to come back.
Yeah.
All that stuff. That's true about that. What about Julio?
Julio's playing again as well. Yeah, Julio's playing JP. Um, he's amazing already with the character. And again, Julio's one of those guys where I just don't know if he will fully try to be on that Street Fighter wave the way that we were when we were 17, 18 years old. It's just hard to see it that way, you know? Like you ask Vi is in his 40s, you know? I don't know if he's in his 40s. I think he's in his 40s. He's old now. Like Vi is not going to be the Vi from Alpha, you know?
Yeah.
He doesn't have the time. He just doesn't have the time to devote into playing that godlike again. I mean, think about it, if Alex Vi really put in the time 8 to 10 hours a day to grind Street Fighter,
he'd be good.
He would be godlike.
He'd be good.
This was like the best player in America at one point in the 90s. You know, he's not somebody that doesn't understand Street Fighter.
No, he would
he would be a monster. He just doesn't have the time. Mike Watson, if Mike Watson plays Street Fighter 6, he would immediately be in the top 1%. Mike Watson is a literal god in Street Fighter. He is a god in Street Fighter. It's crazy how good he is. So, you know, John Choi, you try throwing fireballs against John Choi. If these guys put the time in, they would be godlike again. But as you get older, you got responsibilities, you got a family, you got life, and it's time for the newer generation to pick up the sticks and you know, and win. So that's why I'm doing the whole content thing, and that's why I'm focused a little bit more on that because I want to be able to help those guys with the journey because it's a very difficult journey.
Yeah. I mean that your scope changes too. That's kind of why Stream Team Battle was always something that I wanted to do, like create like a team thing and make it so that people who normally wouldn't get some spotlight get some. And my whole idea is like, these guys have gotten more stream time than I ever have and made more money off Street Fighter than I ever have being gold rank or plat rank. And I just wanted that to be like, there's some people who are going to be like, okay, that's all I wanted to see. But I think it's also pushed some other people to be like, damn, a little taste of what it's like. And some
Yeah,
people
dude, no,
either
that's
it's
great.
enough or they want more.
Dude, that's a great point. And providing those players with a little bit of money, success, being in a gold or rookie or diamond, whatever rank that they are, it allows them to see, oh, I just won some money off of this. I just won the tournament. Uh, I want to keep doing this. You
Yeah,
know,
no,
it
it's gonna be
it
great.
makes them it provides them with a little bit more drive.
Yeah, but it slows me down, slows my grind down a little bit. Like yesterday, I wanted to put in 5 hours of Street Fighter, but instead I was having a streaming issue, and I wanted to figure it out before the next Stream Team battle. Next, thing you know, my whole morning's gone. I'm like, I just don't have the same grind as I used to. But I'm definitely still trying to go hard, and just because I enjoy it so much, every time I play, it's stressful but also fun at the same time. It's got that good
Hmm.
mix of making me sweat, but actually
Hmm.
smiling still a little bit instead of hating everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah. That's actually. I just kind of wanted to hear about your trajectory and hear about all that. And I think it sounds like, actually, so currently you're doing what? You're mostly streaming, and then maybe taking YouTube content from your
From
stream.
the stream. Yeah. So currently, I have about I'm still in my graduate master's program at the moment, so I have a lot of schoolwork that I'm doing. Lucky that work ended the day before Street Fighter 6 came out. The kids went on summer vacation on June 1st, so I don't have to report to work for another 2 months. So that's why I'm streaming a lot at the
There
moment.
you go. There
Yeah.
you go.
So I have schoolwork that I'm doing, and while I'm doing that, I'm just trying to stream every day, build up my community. I'm just grateful to everybody that has supported the channel over the last few days. We've got a great number of following, um, and I'm just grateful that these people continue to support me. There's a lot of people that don't like me, and seeing the support that I get from the ones that do, it warms my heart, and it reminds me as to why I do this in the first place.
Yeah, I actually had to chat with my group chat for a minute because I had brought up how I don't. You had mentioned something about that. And I don't quite remember what was going on. I was like, "Why is there something up with all that I didn't know?" And I feel like no one feels that way personally, but um, yeah, you have the knowledge and you have the drive to be a pretty good impact on the content creation. So I know you're pushing TikTok a lot too.
Yeah, yeah, TikTok is
What is it?
definitely the
TikTok.com/.
Chris underscore Tatarian. Yeah,
Yeah. So
I
I'll start
believe it.
pushing
I
it.
believe it's that. Yeah, I believe it's. I think all my socials are Chris underscore Tatarian. Yeah, it is Chris underscore
Yeah, there you
Tatarian.
go. Cool. Yeah,
Hmm.
definitely
I
check
put
him
like
out, man.
fitness stuff on there, put fitness stuff on there, and analysis type stuff. So I just try to help as many people in their journey. That's my goal. Yeah.
Yeah, man, I think that's a good route too. I really do because you're still able to keep up with the top level players at the same time. I think that's like the best type of player, the one who's got who can hang with any player and then still be able to convey it. Because there's a lot of players who are really good and they just you ask them to do something for the community and they're like, ugh, I'm just trying to play my game. All right.
Yeah.
So that's a good blend
Hmm.
for sure. But I appreciate you talking. My stomach's talking too.
Yeah.
Getting hungry, but I appreciate you, man. I'm gonna drop your links in my chat and keep it going, man. And we'll be in touch again.
Yeah, most definitely. I had a great time, Stack. I appreciate you having me on, and I hope it was a great episode. I
Yeah.
enjoyed it,
No, thank you very
and I hope
much.
I hope the stream enjoyed it. I hope all the viewers enjoy it as well. And as always, you guys can come to us if you have any questions. God bless you guys, and thanks again, Stack. I appreciate you, bro.
No, no, thanks, Chris. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, sounds good, brother.
All right.